guys, thanks for joining us today. I've already seen Lo, and we've got Elaine and Chrissy. Hi guys. I think I've got the video quality correct this time. So sorry about last week. It was just one of those weeks, or days I should say. Go get coffee, you've got time. So you should be able to see this pretty well now, and hopefully today we won't have as much issues as we did last week. So last week we worked on the hair, and the week before that we did the skin, and today we're going to do the clothing and the armor and the silver parts on the armor today. I'm just using my eraser just to get rid of some of the color out of there. You guys know what it's like using Prismacolor. It can smudge quite a bit sometimes, so awesome, thank you. I'm glad it's clear. If it's taking time to buffer, don't forget you can change the quality down a little bit, and that will help that. Kathy, hi Kathy. Sharon, hi. Thanks for joining. Got my little tools out. I've got my trusty dusting brush. Got a colorless full blender in a pencil extender with some tape on it so I don't hurt my hands. I've actually put the this pencil extender is a Derwent one. It's the large size, and it actually holds all the way down to the bottom of it, so I can put my whole blender in there without worrying about it breaking, which is pretty awesome. Helping to protect that one so it doesn't get too broken too quickly. I've got my little mono eraser, white gel pen, white Prismacolor, of course. Hi guys. Got Karen and Loretta. Hi. Thanks for joining. Alright, I've got some pencils here. I've listed them in the description. I did sort of think that I might be able to add some other little details today, but we'll see how we go with the clothing and the armor. I've got, what have I got? 90% cool grey, 70% cool grey, I've got somewhere here, let me find it, 10% cool grey, and I've got 20% French grey, sepia, sandbar brown, Caribbean Sea, and cloud blue. Hi Sylvie, is that how you say it, Sylvie? Hi there. Hi guys, we've got a few coming in now. Who's following along today? I have so much trouble with names. Sometimes I just won't say them because I'm not sure if I'm saying them right, but that's good, I'm glad. Well, Shadow's already settled down today, so we won't be hearing from her, which is good. She's sleeping peacefully next to the window here with me. Got a couple colouring, some watching. We've got little kitties out of the way yet? Oh, they're good fun. So today we're going to work on the armor and the clothing, and took me a while to figure out what parts were what in this one. It wasn't easy to figure out. There's lots of different elements sort of going on in here, and it's sort of hard to tell what's what. So I'm pretty certain that this section up the top here is a cape, because it's got buckles on there. I'm pretty sure that the cape is buckled on from down in here, and it comes around the back here and down here. So I'm going to assume that's his cape. We're going to do that pale blue with her outfit is going to be pale blue as well, so they'll sort of match in together. Now the armor here is what else have I got? So this part here is armor, and I'm pretty sure this is like an armor gauntlet type thing, or an armband, so that's going to be metal as well. But underneath here is his shirt, so I might do this pale blue to match the top section up here. And just her arm here, I'm thinking that this may have been meant to have been material, but look, it's not going to matter at all. So just her arm here, and this one coming up here. So we've got a lot of different elements going on, but they all will be very similar in color and things like that, so that's not too bad. Let me see what else I've got here. I've got hair, little clips in her hair are going to be silver as well. We've got the buckles, and obviously we've got this section here which is going to be some sort of leather as well, and the rest is going to be silver. So we've got a lot of bits and pieces there to go with. So try turning down, going to the little, there's a little cog there, click on the settings and try dropping down a level. If it's sitting on HD, the highest one, you might find that the quality is a little slower, or it's slower to stream, so maybe just drop it down a level and see how you go. Okay. Alright, so what I might do is get started. If you guys are ready to go, we'll have a go and get this started. Alright. Having trouble seeing the chat. Let me just get all that open so I can see that. Alright, let's go. So I'm going to start with the grey. So I've got cool grey, 90%, and we're going to start by putting in our darkest sort of areas on the metal. So if you've ever looked at something that's silver or gold or any sort of metallic material, you'll always see darker shadows reflecting in that. So, you know, there might be people, or there might be a shadow because the light's shining directly on top of something, so there'll be a shadow behind it. So we're going to try to get that kind of look today, making it look rounded and giving it that metallic look. So I'm going to start with fairly light pressure, and I'm just going to go into all of the darker shadow sections. I'm going to move in closer in a sec so you can see what I'm doing. Let me just grab my camera settings. There's so many things open on the computer at the moment. I'm surprised it's even working. Let's just come a little bit closer. Move it over a section there. How's that? So I've got my pencil really lightly at the top end of it so that it doesn't put any pressure down, and I'm just going to go in and start to mark out these shadow areas in the metal. So I'm starting here I'm just very, very lightly going around all of these shadow areas here. So it looks like there's actually a piece of metal over the top of there, or indented there, so I want to put a shadow in there. And I'm just very lightly marking out where I want this shadow part to go. So on all of the pieces where the metal seems to be overlapping, I want to make sure that I put a little bit of a shadow in there, just so it looks like it's overlapping the other part of metal. So just nice and lightly there, marking it in to start with. Going around this section here. So there's sort of two overlapping pieces here. I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow in the middle of that. And then it's indented a little bit there, so we're going to put a shadow on the side that's dipping downwards. Really light pressure there. And around the outside section there. So we want to have some really bright white areas here, so that we can show that real shiny look. So for those that are just joining, I probably should explain what we're doing here. So this is Elves in Love by Fabrika Fantasy. If you're looking for the image, it is available on their website. It's available as an individual stamp. It's also available as a part of a book that they've just brought out, which was Forest Spirits. I've popped all the links in the description so you can check that out there. Fabrika Fantasy have a digital stamp club, or digi club it's called, and you can pay for different amounts of time to be in that club. You get access to all of their digital stamps and any new ones that come out during the time that you're a member as well. So it's pretty good. You get to download those pretty much all at once and keep them in your files to use later on. And yeah, it's a great idea and really easy way to get some really beautiful images for cards, colouring pages, things like that. Just putting some shadow up through the middle of this little section here. We're going to try and get as much detail in as we can. Just like that. The image is available in my group if you would like to have a look at that. It won't be available after next week's video, so make sure you get in to the group and check that out if you'd like a copy. Otherwise you will have to purchase it through the website. Got another little bit of dark covering over or overlapping here, so I'm just going to go in there. Now the artist has already drawn in a little bit of a shadow here, so I'm going to follow that. Hi Hilary, thanks for joining. So next week will be our last week on this image, and then there'll be a week break before we start the next colour along. The next one's by, I don't know how to pronounce the name of this one either. I think it's just Addy Schaefer. Aldi, something like that. Beautiful images, so we'll grab something from there. I don't know what image we'll be getting yet. Okay, I think I need a shadow, so I'm gonna oh no, Hilary, I hope everything's okay. Don't forget to hit the like button, that's right. So I'm going to follow a bit of a shadow down that sort of line. Just in the middle of those sections there. And And I'm still just going to follow that one on the side there. I think it needs another one over here, so I'll do one over this side just to show the curve. How's that? So we can sort of see that it's curving around now because we've got those shadows in the right sort of curve of the arm. Just going to go down this middle section here a little bit. And I'm going to go around all of these. It's okay, Loretta, I've had a long night. Early mornings. I think we're coming into migraine weather for me. Okay, so I've just gone around that top part of the middle because that's sort of sitting behind. There was a little bit of a shadow there, so I'm going to stick with that. Because the arm's sort of curved now. This part here looks like it's overlapping, so we want to make this quite dark in there. I think we'll just follow this line here and put a little bit of a shadow in here. If you've ever stuck a gold ring down on a bench and had a look at the colours that you actually see in that, you'll notice that you don't see a lot of the actual gold colour. There's a lot of it's just reflections of other objects around it. That's kind of what we're doing here. So just in these sections down here, I want to try and keep some of the detail, so I don't want to go over that too much. I'm just thinking here, I'm going to stop, this is going to be metal here. Just come down here a bit. So I want this to be blue for the cape in the background. So just coming around that section and down and around the arm there. Now there's some detail in here like little pop rivets or screws or whatever holding it together. Just going to go around them lightly as well. Just around the top there. Following that detail there. Migraines are no good. Don't get as many as I used to, but still do get my fair share. Alright, so I've just gone up and around that section there. This might actually be quite dark, so I'm just going to make this a little bit thicker there. And I'm going to bring down from that collar as well down there. Got a little bit of a line there, so I'm just following what the artist has drawn. And just really light pressure. So guys, I used Nina Classic Crest the first week and I had issues with the scanner. I just couldn't get the image to scan up properly, so I decided to swap to a different paper. So today I'm using the Bristol, Strathmore Bristol. This is the smooth one. It's not too bad. I think I said last week that it's perhaps I wouldn't use it as much for pencil, but I'm going to give it a try with some markers. Somebody told me that it's really good with markers as well, so I might try that one day as well. Now I'm going to make this the undershirt, aren't I? So I don't want to go up there. But I do want to just sort of put some detail in here, so I'm just making sure that I go around these little bolt things, and there's some squiggle in there. Just deepen that up a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit more pressure in the very depth of that one. Make it look nice and dark. So this front section here, I'm just going to go in around the lines, just thicken them up a little bit. And just on that very edge there where it was sitting. Okay, so it's all really light pressure still. Going down here, and I've got a feeling there's a little sort of section here. I think that might actually be hair. So I'm going to leave that and go back in later on and fix that up, but I just want to go in here where it's dark. This is going to be the rest of his armor, and it would be dark down here because there's not a lot of light from the cape and her hair. Just going in really dark around those shadows and really lightening up my pressure as I come out. It is blowing a gale here. I can feel my windows shaking. It's kind of scary. Okay. So over to this part here, I'm just going to go and do the same thing. Making sure you can see there. I lost my camera for a sec. All good. Just really dark at the bottom there. I think I need to go around that section. I've missed a little bit in there. I'm just going to go, looks like there's a bit of a line there as well, so I'm just going to mark that in. Just lining those areas out now. I'm putting a little bit of pressure down so you can see they're really dark. Oh, I don't want snow. I hope it doesn't snow here. Oh dear, but yeah, it's really bad, really windy. The nights are pretty cold too. Alright, so we're coming down to the bottom here. I think we're going to need to add this shadow here and around, so I'm just going to pop that in there. Just like that. I think we'll add this one in here, just following it around. And the top one there has already been covered over. I'm going to move up the arm. Just bringing that shadow up. Just really lightly. Marking it in, bit of a squiggly line. Now there's going to be a little bit of a shadow around her hair as well, so I'm just going to make sure that I mark that in too. Starting to build in the shadows. Hi Randy, thanks for joining us. You know what would be really great? If they had some sort of thing where we could actually interact and hear each other. Alright. So there's a fair bit of shadow on there, but we want to have some light, and I wanted to make sure that I marked those areas in, even though a lot of it's going to be covered over with shadow. Now I'm going to move up to this section up here. I'm going to leave these little banded sections because I want them quite dark. I think I need a bit of a shadow in there. Just a small amount. I'm going to leave that as hair. Now this part here, we're going to do the same as we've done down here. So I'm going to do a bit of a shadow there, and another one maybe there. I think that shows that it's rounded. It's giving us a bit of a highlight in the middle there. I'm just kind of squiggling that in, but really lightly. Now I'm going to go in and put some details in, go deeper and darker. I think I need a little bit through there. So we've got lots of raised and low bits in here, and I want to make sure we can see those. So just follow that line through. Little bands of metal there. There we go. So it kind of looks like ridges now. What's next? Let's do her little rings in her hair. Just going to do a little bit of a shadow on one side. Just like that. Did you see that? So I just put a little bit just there. And a little bit on the top there. Is that the only ones in her hair? Okay, and then we've got this top one here. And we want it to sort of look shiny and rounded as well. So let's just put a bit of a line down here. And then one up here. Could have probably done gold with this, it would have looked good too. The blue and gold look alright together. Bronze. I'm just going to put a shadow line here as well because those little pieces are overlapping each other. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Well, you've all got different accents, so it'd be interesting to hear what everybody sounds like. Alright, so I've got 70% cool grey, and we're going to go over the top of the areas that we've done, and we're going to extend it out further. We want to make sure that we leave little highlight sections in each piece so it looks shiny. So I'm just going to go over that colour, starting to fill the tooth in a little bit now, and just extending that further out. Just further down and around. Bye Hillary, thanks for coming. I don't feel like I have an extremely Aussie accent, but everyone seems to think I do. I think we all talk through our nose, like very nasally. That'd be so good to hear. Alright. Just filling in some of this area now. I'm just going to put a little bit of firmer pressure in those very shadows now as well while I'm at it, because we're already taken up. Time flies, half an hour's already gone. Now next week I won't be doing it on the same day. We're going to be doing it a day earlier. It's actually my mum's birthday next week, so I want to try and catch up with her on the Friday if I can. So we'll be moving it to the Thursday, which is the day before. And as usual, I'll pop all the information up on my page and in the group so you can see that. And we'll be finishing it all off hopefully next week. I have left that extra week break just in case we don't get it finished, we can come back. Okay, so really starting to build that in now. Just going in quite deep into those shadow areas. Thank you. It's quite strange going back to a line art image from all the grayscale that I've been doing this week. Don't get me wrong, I quite like grayscale, it's good fun. And the images always come out so good. There is a lot going on in these images. They're all the same too. It was really hard for me to pick one image out of the Fabrika Fantasy book because there is a lot in them. And I didn't want one that had too much detail because it would take us too long on live video. So this is kind of why I picked this one, and I really like the girl and the guy. I haven't done a guy before either. But it can be a little daunting looking at it when you first look at it. If you don't break it down into little parts, it can look daunting. Yeah, I'm a bit hooked on grayscale too myself. Actually just downloaded a new artist, well not new, one that I actually have a colouring when I very first started colouring from her, and I just thought maybe I'd buy a couple more and do them now and see the difference. And that's Dottie Gleason. She's got it's her paintings that she does into grayscale. Grayscale's awesome, you can make it look so real. Just making sure that I follow along those lines in those shadows, just pushing a little bit more pressure in there just to get them nice and deep. I can hear doors rattling and windows shaking. It's really hard to discern what's going on if there's anything going on outside at the moment. Okay. So coming around all of these little details now, I just want to make sure that I put a fair bit of pressure in those very deep sections just to get that to stand out. And just really lighten the pressure as you come out. So you guys are still in summer there, right? On that side of the world. Cool. Yeah, so we're in the end of winter here. Still chilly. I quite like summer storms. They're quite impressive with their lightning, and my favourite pastimes are in storms like that. Now on these little up sections, I'm just putting a tiny little bit of this colour in as well, just so I can put in the next colour over the top. Looking good. Starting to look curved. Some of those sections I've almost filled in all the way, like down the bottom here, because that's fairly dark down there. Just in here it's fairly filled out now as well. And his arm will be filled out. There'll only be a couple of spots of light colour in there. Just down that side there, and in the middle there. Just doing the little band bits a little bit there as well. Just lightly. So you shouldn't see a lot of white now. It should be starting to fill in quite a bit. Hi Grace, thanks for joining. It's never cold in Queensland though. It's always warm, no matter what time of the year you go. Victoria and Melbourne weather is just shocking. We have the worst weather. It's always raining. Okay, so I've just done her clip there. I'm just going to do a tiny little bit on the side of these ones here. That one down the bottom there. I'm just going to fill out a little bit of his earring there. Excuse me, I'm choking. A bit dry. Just a tiny bit on his earring up there. I did just notice too that on the bow up here there's a couple of little things there, so I'm just going to fill that in as well using the 70%, because there's already little ridges there and dark lines from the image. I'm not going to go in with that darker colour. Okay, we've got whistling now. Really losing my breath. Okay, I've got cool grey 10%. Using really light pressure, I'm going to go over all of it. So just going in and filling out the remainder of those areas, just really lightly over the top of all of the colour that we've done. And just going over those white areas as well, because we want them to blend out nicely into those. I don't travel much. The furthest I've been is to Queensland. So it intrigues me, all this interesting weather in different countries, and I'm just going over the top, still using fairly light pressure, just going in and going over all of the white sections as well as those dark sections. Good thing about Prismas is that you can always add darker colours back in later on, because their pencils are so soft. You can pretty much just keep layering. You may need to adjust the darker areas now that you're starting to go over it too. You may feel that they need to be a little deeper. For example, this section here, I think that it needs to actually come down a little bit. I think it's a little bit too white, so I'm just going to go and fill a little bit more of that out. That's a bit better. I don't spray my work, Chrissy. I usually flatten it out with the colourless blender, and it doesn't actually need it. The colourless blender seems to push down that tooth, and it stops everything from smudging in. When I use dry pastels, I sometimes will use a fixative. Find once I put them in their little pockets, I keep mine in a folder because I have so many, but once I put it in there I don't need to worry about anything smudging anymore. Okay, so you shouldn't have any white areas. It should all be covered over with the light grey now. So all of the rings and things that we didn't do before, I've covered over those as well. And all of those ridges and raised pieces have all got colour in them. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go over again and just start to soften everything off and make sure everything's blended in nice and smoothly. Smudging my blue hair. So what I might do is I might finish a section off and move on to the rest of the clothing, because we've only got 15 minutes and I really wanted to get most of this done, and I've just smudged blue into there. Just grab my little eraser. Try that again. Got my white pencil, and I'm just going to go into those really highlighted sections and put some firm pressure down, and that will help stop smudging that other colour into it as well. Ah! Broke it. Been having trouble with this white one. It doesn't want to sharpen straight. Try my to-go one, I think. A bit of dust all over it. I've got this one here as well, and you can do a smaller sized lead sharpening. Try that with this one. So it does like short size leads instead of like that size. So you can adjust the level if you want. So this size here is around a 3, and the further up you go, the longer that section there will be. Sometimes I do them shorter because they don't like being sharpened, and this one's being one of those. Get less breakage with this short length. I didn't say no breakage, I did say less. Doesn't like me today. Okay, so I've just gone over that with the white, and I'm just going to go back in with that 70%, and I'm just going to go into those shadow areas a bit more and just go over that darker section there. Just going over the top of that white now. We've got our first shiny section. Now what I'm going to do is actually put some white gel pen just on the very edge of that. Just like that, and then a little dot in the middle of each of those sections, and then on the corners of those bottom parts there. Hi Beverly. Yeah, sometimes with the shorter leads I was doing them that, but I actually do find that now I've practiced a fair bit with them, the longer leads are fine. But some of the Prismacolor pencils are still quite chalky and they do break often, so it depends on, I guess, the manufacturer and the quality of the lead and things like that too. Just going to put a little bit of white in the earring there. And I'm going to use white gel pen to make that sparkly. So just coming in now with the white and just sort of pushing down the tooth, flattening off those areas now. And I'm just going into the parts that I want the whitest as well. I'm going to put white gel pen in there anyway to lighten them up. Okay, so the white softened off that grey quite a bit. Okay, I haven't got a lot of time, so I'm just going to finish off these sections in here, and I'll do the rest off camera. But I wanted you guys to get the idea of what it's going to look like finished. So just make sure that when it comes to this section that you're starting to smudge it off, just make sure that it's fairly light shaded out here, so that you don't sort of look like you've got a direct line from the dark to the light. You want to kind of fuzzy it off a little bit and have it soft, not hard. I love my words, fuzzy it off a bit. There's probably a perfectly good explanation and word for that, but I'm using fuzzy it off because that's how I see it. So we're going to use the white gel pen for all the contrast and the really bright shiny bits. So I'm going to do that on the parts that are quite white and that I want to stand out a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to go back in with the 70% and just darken up some of those sections. So the pencil's just sort of gliding over the top of those colours now, because we've got those layers built up. So just adding in that extra dark over the top is just making those darker shadow sections really shrink back into it, and the lighter sections pop forward more. So you can see with the sections that I've already done now how much more detailed and prominent those lighter bits look compared to the parts I haven't done down here. So now I'm going to go into those, just show you there. Okay, so that's all we're going to do now. I'm going to do that on the rest of it, and I will show it up later on today. I'll do them off camera. I'm just putting a tiny little bit more depth in those sections, but I'm pretty happy with how that's come out now. And we'll use that white gel pen here just to brighten up those highlight areas. I'm just going to put a tiny bit on those little screw sections there. And just a little bit in that white area there. Where you've got points, I'm kind of just doing the corner of them. Just adding those sections in now. So just keep working on them and putting in a little bit of white wherever you feel it needs to be a little bit brighter or lighter. Oh, we've got more wind. Every time it flares up, I'm worried something's going to fall over. Okay. I still think I could probably work on that a little bit more and get a little bit more white in there. It's not working that well actually. I might be, looks like it's a new one, so it's just starting to flow. Alright, so that's it. So I'm going to do that and repeat that on the whole section so we have all of that nice and shiny. Yeah, the Uniball goes over it pretty well. Sometimes I have to just sort of scribble on the paper next to me just to get the ball to roll again, but normally it's pretty good. I find it is anyway. The other option is that you could go in with some white gouache and use that, which is an opaque white watercolor paint or white acrylic, something that you can still have fairly good control over, of course. But yeah, anything to put in that little bit of white shininess. So with the blue clothing, I'm going to start with the girl. So first of all, I think I was saying last time, I think this arm's kind of odd. But I want to make sure that you can see the creases and things like that in it. So I'm just going to show you. I've got Caribbean Sea first. And there's a couple of little sort of bump and crease lines here on the side. So I've just gone in and kind of flicked out. There's two there. And we're also going to have something going on the opposite side here. So we want to make sure that we have some creases and crinkles in that as well. So we could do, say her arm's coming up here. We could do a couple in that direction perhaps. And maybe just on that edge there, some creases. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a crease shadow in there. And I want to try and keep that direction there because she's going to be pulling her arm up. It's sort of going to go on a bit of all directions, but in that crease. If you have a look at a piece of clothing or something and bend your arm, you'll be able to see what I mean by the creases. I'm just going to meet those up towards the other side there. Okay, so I've just marked out those areas first, and then I'm just going to do some shadows. So we're going to go around everywhere. See up here, her arm sort of coming up here. There's going to be a darker shadow there because there's a pull on the material there. There's already a little bit of a line drawn. I'm just extending on that. I think putting in these details is going to make it look a little bit less like a large piece of area or clothing that you can't see that well. I've got a jelly roll pen. I still think the Uniball one is better. The Uniball one has a lot thicker ink in it, and I think it covers over pencil a lot more. I don't like the Posca. I don't think it's bright enough. I think it's too translucent, and I find that the Posca pens are quite thick as well, and I want something a little bit thinner. I've got a really thin jelly roll, which is a 0.5 I think, for the really tiny stuff. So I'm just going in and lightly putting in a shadow at the moment. And I'm sort of colouring directionally, so the way that the material would go. Oh, it sounds like my door's coming open over there. Can hear whistling and all sorts of things going on there. So there'll be a shadow all the way under her arm. And we're going to start to see some of this material sort of joining up together. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I want it to be quite light on the very elbow part there because it'll be where the light would be reflecting, of course. So that's all I've done. I've just gone in and made sure that I've marked out those creases to make it look like an arm and not just a one solid colour piece of whatever sitting there. We wanted it to look like clothing, so... And I think adding that in now, it's got a lot more character and it does actually look like an arm coming up there. What do you guys think? I'm going to do this colour down onto his arm as well, so still using the Caribbean Sea. Just going around all of those areas, putting in a shadow where the arm is sort of laying over the top of the arm. I'm being quite rough too, sorry. That's medium to firm pressure. Really firm pressure in the very depths of those shadows, and then lighter as we come out. Doing his thing up here, that colour. And I'm also going to do his cape this colour, so I'm going to go back in to there. Just softening off those hard edges first before I move on. Oh, hello, Shadow. You awake now? I think the wind's woken her up. Just coming around those buckles on the back of the cape there. Putting some little dark sort of pull marks down there. And then coming down here is going to be all darker around that and down in there. I'm doing that as hair. I'll fill that back in later on. Just going around that flower there just to add that shadow in. Now I think we're going to have some material flowing down this way. We're going to have some pulls down there as well, so I'm just going to add them in. There's one there coming up from the bottom as well, so just what we're trying to do is create some ripples in the material so it doesn't just look like one piece of material or one sort of flat coloured area. And just come up from the bottom there as well. Alright, I've got I'm going to do down here on her sleeve as well later on, so don't forget that little section down there. Just gone over the stem. So I will fill all that in later on. It looks like, yeah, see, I'm not sure here. This could actually be skin in the back here, so just got a bit of a shadow for the clothing, and I'm actually considering cutting this across here perhaps and putting that in as part of her top. So I'm just going to mark it out for now and I'll change it later on. I'm just going to rub off the skin colour in there and just go in with the blue as a part of her dress. Okay, so we've got a lot of changing and chopping to do here. Alright, so I've got cloud blue. So for those of you that haven't got a lot of time, you guys, I've just sort of shown you what to do on those sections, but I will finish it off. I might still have a couple more minutes to finish it off. Just going over the top of that dark colour with that cloud blue. And just creating those, just broken my pencil, making these sections thicker now, bringing those areas down. I'm using firm pressure at the moment because I don't want to really have to go in there again if I don't have to. Starting to look like a piece of material flowing down there now. Just filling in there. And coming around, I just want to fill out the rest of this top. I'm just going to go in the direction that the material's going, so that if there is any lines or anything coming through, it's in the right direction. Now you could use a white to go over that and soften off the tooth and make sure everything's blended in nice and smoothly, or you could use your full blender or pencil blender, whatever you've got, to flatten it off if you want it that colour. I'm considering just putting a little bit of white over that, especially in those really light areas. Look how blunt it is already. So just coming in with that white in those brighter sections. Just softening off the tooth in the rest of it. Okay, how's that look? Look like an arm now. Just down here I've missed some light blue, cloud blue. I don't think I need the white. I think that's fairly soft now already. I think it's the same with that. Just a little bit of white on the side there, and maybe on that very edge. Now I haven't finished the metal obviously, but that's the clothing done. And I'm just going to do the leather straps and the, I'll just show you the back, this part here. I've got the sepia, and I'm going to come into all of the shadow and dark areas on these little buckles, so where the buckle overlaps. Just creating that roundness by putting a little bit of dark colour on each side. Some more buckles up the top there. I'm going to leave them very light on the top. Yep, must be cold. More buckles down the bottom here. So on the top section here, I've got the piece of leather sitting at the back there. I'm just going in behind those arrows and putting in a line of this. And just around the pattern there at the back. I'm just going to line all that out. It's just like squiggly lines all over there. Now I've just lightened my pressure to come out and around all of those things there. I'm just lining those all in, lightening up my pressure as I come out towards that highlighted section. A lot of this would be quite dark, I would think. It looks kind of like it's curved in anyway. Okay, and then I've got Sandbar brown, which is like a greeny brown colour. And I'm just going over the top of that sepia and just extending this out. Just going over the top of all of that marking stuff at the top there. I'm leaving that ribbon or bow there I might do that with black or something later on. And I'm going to flatten off the tooth with some French grey. So French grey is like a pink grey. Have a look at it there. It's kind of a beigey sort of colour. And I'm just going to come over the top of that and flatten off the rest of the tooth now. I'm going to need to go back in with that sepia and just make those little patterns at the top there a little bit darker. And I may just need to make those shadows a bit darker now because they've softened off quite a bit. Just going over the lighter sections of those buckles. And the actual buckle part, I'm just going to do them with grey. Just going to use the 70% and mark those in. Just leaving a little bit of white on them as well, so that it looks like they're shiny. Where's the white gone? Need to sharpen it again. I'm just going to zoom out for you guys. So just copy along to the shading that's already been done here, and you'll start to learn by following along how and where they go. I'm just going to zoom out if I can find my little zoom out button. Here we go. Obviously I've got to finish off the rest of the metal and make that nice and shiny, which I'll post up in the group later on today. I'll finish it off this morning and just soft flatten out the tooth and things like that on there. But you can see now that she's got, I think I may even going just with the Caribbean Sea again and just deepen up some of these sections. I think they could be a little bit more creased in there. I just said there I was going to just rub out the skin down the bottom here, and I'm just going to fill that in with the blue as well so that it looks like part of her dress. I think it needed that in there, and this can all then be her dress as well. Just using the cloud blue there to soften off the middle. Yeah, I do feel like that should have been a part of her dress down there. So then it doesn't look quite so odd just sitting across there, and this bit here is actually blue. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm fairly happy with that now. So what we'll do is I'll just finish off these finer details. I'll scan it in for you guys so you can see it. And then next week we'll be able to finish off the bow, and the background area is fairly simple. I'm just going to do a nice simple background, perhaps some yellow in there. So blue and yellow, or blue and orange maybe, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but we'll get there. Did you hear the wind? It's really bad. It's really windy. My actual windows are shaking here. We've got aluminium windows frames, and they're rattling. I can hear them rattling. Also we've got an aluminium pergola, and I can hear the sheets of metal moving up there. I'm in Victoria, so I'm in the southeastern suburbs of Victoria. and it's really windy. I think I'm actually going to use dark blue. So I've got indigo blue from when we did the hair here. I'm just going to do this ribbon blue, and I'm hoping that will help match the hair. I like to try and bring elements from, you know, the people into the image, the rest of the image as well. So I think the blue looks good there. Just use some Caribbean Sea to go over that. Blend it out a bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. And also these little sections up here I'm going to do blue, but I'll get to them next week. We might actually need 5 weeks on this one. We did end up doing 5 weeks on the Heather Valentine one, but I think we might need more time on this one. No, here, down the bottom here, I'm actually going to do that with the hair colour. So I've got the Indanthrone blue, and I'm just going to replace that with hair down there. I think that's supposed to be hair. So I'm just going to look at that. That didn't take very long, did it? Just the colours that I used in the hair, I've just brought down there. And the white. Just flatten off the tooth with my colourless blender, my full blender. How's that, better? Filling that in there. Hi Linda, good morning. Yeah, we've nearly finished. Well, we have pretty much finished. I'm just sort of poking around at it now. I probably should go because I think my hubby sort of, he's been kicked out into the garage, so I think, yeah, if he's home, he's probably out in the windy weather out there. Just filling in a little bit more of those shadows. I think I softened those off a little bit too much. Just got the Sandbar brown. It's blowing a gale here too. We were just saying that, Linda. It's over there as well, is it? So Linda's on the other side of the city. What is that class as a west side, I guess? But it's so bad. I can hear whistling through my windows. It's so weird. I've never heard it like that before. It's kind of creepy. It sounds a bit like ghost noises. Oh dear. Here we go. How's that? Just deepened up some of those shadows in there. Make those highlights stand out a little bit more. I think I should probably head off, hey? I've said that like 4 times now. Let me see if I can sharpen this one better now. You can hear the whistling. I think maybe my back door might be open a little bit. Which might be whistling through that. But yeah, it is really strong. Just softening off the tooth on that one. I'm going to do the rest of it off camera, but while we're just sitting here chatting quickly. But I'll let you guys go, hey? Well, you kind of know what I've done on the rest of it, so you don't have to hang around. I'm just going to finish it while I'm here. I think I can't just leave it not finished. I need to finish it. I'm just flattening off the tooth on all of that darker area that I didn't finish before. Trying not to smudge in that blue too much. If you're interested in metal, I did do a couple of videos for Patreon quite a while ago now. I did gold and copper effects. So if that's something that interests you, pop over to Patreon and check out Patreon, because I've got videos on there from a while ago now, and they're still there and ready to be utilized. Don't forget, after you've done the white or the softening off of this, to go back in with that darker the 70% and just increase those shadows a little bit more, because you've dulled them off so much now with that white. There we go. That's much better. All softened off. Thanks, Kathy. Hi, Charlotte. Gosh, we've got people coming in now. I think my house is going to end up blowing off to Oz too. Maybe we'll meet up somewhere in Oz. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. I've never heard it like that before. So yeah, it's a bit sad. Bit sad. I wonder if I'll end up with someone's trampoline in my backyard. It's been known to happen. Just deepening up the shadows with the 70% cool grey at the moment. Yep, we've had all sorts of things in our backyard. We tend to end up with all the stray animals in our backyard, or birds, or, you know, dogs or whatever that have been caught in a storm, and we end up with them. We're animal magnets. Alright. He's starting to look so good. Just some pattern in his armor there. Bye guys, thanks for joining. I think I'm finished now anyway, so I'm probably going to head off so you guys can head off. And I'll pop a picture of it, I'll scan it up, I'll just fix up some of those shadows and things that I haven't quite finished yet, and I'll pop it up for you in the group. So thanks so much for watching guys, and I will see you next week. Don't forget, it'll be a day earlier, so we'll be doing it on the Thursday rather than the Friday my time, so one day before we're doing it now, just because, as I said, I've got my mum's birthday the following day, so I won't be able to do it on the Friday again, but I'll pop it up in the group so you'll be able to see that when I put it up there. So that's everything. Bye guys, thanks so much. No worries, thanks for coming. Thanks again, hope to see you all next time. Bye guys.